Hello, welcome to Truth Without Fear. This is yet another of my video posts, and today I thought I'd talk to you about good and bad, good and evil, that kind of thing, because we've got it all wrong. Good and evil don't actually exist, because I'll explain. I know things always look bad from one perspective, but not from all perspectives. So, good and evil is about perspective and emotion. You need some sort of emotional involvement to make your decision. So, I'll try and explain. I'll give you an example. Put yourself in the mind of a sheep. Sheep in a field. And he has a nose through the farmer's window. Now this farmer's family chap, nice bloke, goes down a pub, considers himself a very nice chap, and he does what's good for people, helps people and so on. However, he does keep a load of sheep, which he slaughters and also eats. But from his perspective, that's not doing bad, they're his sheep. Yeah, you get where I'm going here. But you take it from the sheep's point of view. He goes and has a look through the window, sees his mate getting slaughtered, and then later on sees his mate getting chopped up, cooked, dished up on the dinner table, and watches the farmer eat. Now, look at the traumatised sheep. If he understands it, obviously, you've got to take the point of view that he can understand what he's seeing. But sorry, give the sheep some give the sheep some credit and assume that he understands all of that completely. How is he going to see that farmer? He's not going to see him as a nice bloke. He's going to see him as the devil incarnated. He's not going to understand that he's got a different perspective to the farmer. So, and the farmer himself doesn't think he's evil just because he kills his sheep and eats them. I wouldn't do that. But you see the perspective. It's the emotional involvement of the sheep seeing one of his own and the things that are obviously horrible from the sheep's perspective anyway, and how he would feel and how he would deem that as evil as he could possibly think of. So it's perspective. You have to take your perspective beyond yourself because you're emotionally involved, so you're always going to have your own perspective. And yeah, I see good and bad same as everybody else. So I see the elites as pure evil. I wouldn't argue it because they are, especially with the stuff they get up to. But I'm sure they don't see it that way. I'm sure they have absolutely zero empathy, and we can't really get our heads set around a zero empathy state of being. Unless you're a psychopath, of course, in which case you know it fully. But if you're not a complete psychopath, you can't get it. You can't get your head around it. And I know this. But hypothesize in your own mind what it would be like to have no empathy at all. And then think about if you're hurting somebody, if you don't have any empathy towards them, then do you have any feelings about it? Like the farmer that kills his sheep can't have any empathy towards that sheep. And that's how we're seen. We're seen as cattle that are owned. That's the way we're looked at. There's so many terms like useless feeders and all sorts of other things that certain elites have come out with in the past. Now, I won't go into why, but any humanity that was in them isn't in them anymore. These people don't have anything that makes us human. And what makes us human is our emotional range. From all the negative through all the positive. But you can never universally define good or bad. You just can't, because it all depends on perspective and it all depends on emotion. Take emotion and perspective well, take emotion out and take your perspective away, it's no longer good or bad. So unless you can get a universal statement that applies to everyone, there isn't really good and bad. There just is. So I know it's a bit tricky. But I think there's a lot of beings around, here, there and everywhere. I won't say where particularly, but a lot of beings around that don't have any empathy, don't connect to us at all. There's also, to have empathy, you've got to have some sort of connection. But anyway, they don't connect to us at all, and they have absolutely no empathy for us. So they're not necessarily going to want to hurt you for no reason, but they will for a reason. If they haven't got any reason, they're not going to act. But they won't act on emotion. It will be pure logic, or whatever pertains to logic that doesn't involve any empathy or any emotion. So that's why we're in the situation we're in. That's why we're slaves, fooled into thinking we're free. So, and the people, beings, because they're not people, the beings that did this to us don't have any emotional range. They can't have. And they're basically doing what they like, and they think themselves justified in what they do. Even because they can't get their head round another perspective. So, as far as they're concerned, they're not evil. That's what I think. I mean, it's a bit hard when you know the stuff they get up to. But, anyways, from our perspective, I'll just put my ciggy on. We just need to understand that we have to have some sort of balance. You can't have it all goodness and light. I don't believe that in any shape or form, and I think anybody that tells you, we're going to be going to this wonderful world where everything's great, it's not going to happen. Not for us anyway. Maybe a balance can be maintained, but you have to have a balance. So where there's goodness and light everywhere, there's a downside somewhere. Has to be. That's the way the universe is. It's all a balance. So, yeah, we're not going to disappear off to the fifth dimension and suddenly everything's wonderful. That's not going to happen. And we're a mixture of good and bad. Well, like I said, it's all perspective, but in ourselves we have negative emotions, we have positive emotions, and we have everything in between the extremes. So basically we're an emotional being, as we know. And I sort of threw myself then because my screensaver went in, but I forgot where I was getting to. Yeah, well, I said there's got to be a balance. That's it. That's what I was getting onto. Now, people that cleanse themselves of negative entities and try and make themselves all goodness and light, peace and love, yeah? Hippie idea, but I mean, I don't argue with being nice to each other, that's clear. We should all be nice to each other. But I don't think you should cleanse yourself of all the negative aspects, as in sage burning, those sort of things. If you've got a particular creature you want to get rid of, then fine. But not everything that's negative, because negative can be used for positive results. Yeah, so if you're, well, say for example with me, my lack of empathy for somebody means that I'm not defenceless. I mean, I won't attack, but I will defend. And if you have too much empathy, it stops you defending yourself because you don't want to hurt them, or it even hurt their ego. It's not physical, whatever, but you don't want to hurt the person that doesn't care at all whether he hurts you or not. Yeah. And if you were to live in a collective conscious society where everybody thought what everybody else is thinking, they can see everybody's thoughts and so on, then they've got to be pretty guarded against negative things, and they'd be growing up in a society that's trained not to be negative because it will spread like a virus to everybody else. Now, I've heard about this, and if you want to know more, just listen to the radio shows. They're up on the website. Excuse me. Anyway, yeah. So, where am I going with this? I think we're all made up out of a mixture of good and bad. I also think that all of our beings, previous and future, whatever, are still a mixture of good and bad. But if in your particular existence you decide to demand that all these negative energies, presences, beings that are involved with you depart, then you're actually asking the negative side of yourself to depart. And then there's going to be more negative than positive in some of your existences, and vice versa. But all negatives can be turned around. You can use a negative for good. It's all about intention. So if your intent is good, you can use your negativity. This is what I've come to. So I know a lot of people are all yapping on about goodness and light, and everybody's just wonderful. If you imagine a society where that's the case, where everything's just goodness and light all the time, you don't have to strive for anything at all, it's just handed to you on a plate and everything's just as good could be, then you're not doing anything. You got no reason to do anything. We need to sort problems out. We need to find solutions. We need to have something to fight against. This makes us strive. This makes us better. This makes us better people inside. It's all about intention. So you can't actually get rid of all the negative. Can't happen. You can improve things. I mean, the balance on this planet is stupid. The fraction of a fraction of a fraction of 1%. Control the rest of it, and control all the money, and try and put people in abject slavery. Well, they are in abject slavery, but they're trying to make people even worse. They're going to town, so they're trying to make everybody homeless. They're trying to make everybody struggle so much just to survive that they're literally not doing anything else. The slaves in ancient times had it much better. They knew they were slaves, but they did their slavery, but they got fed, they got homed, they had a roof over their heads. They had it better than a lot of us do. So, yeah. And I'm saying that this is supposed to be about good and bad. I'm trying not to label anything as good or bad, but my perspective will decide. Well, I'll decide for myself what I think's good, what I think's bad, and we all do. But we all agree on certain things because we're human. We have human emotions, so we know that hurting somebody's bad. Yeah, we know this only because we have empathy for the person. At least a remote amount of empathy, but we have empathy. I mean, that's being programmed out of us right, left and centre with media. And even if you get a good concept in a film or something, there's always loads of things that are trying to desensitise you and remove your empathy. Anyway, that was a different post, so I won't go into that. So yeah. Conclusions. Try and not particularly judge things. Try and look at things from an outside perspective and try and see it from a completely alien point of view to try and understand things. And yeah, I mean, I still say be good to each other, help each other. If you put out things like that, you get back things like that. So you put out good intentions, you should get good rewards. Well, I mean, I don't expect to get rewards, but I look at it that I'm creating my reality that I'm going to live anyway. So it's irrelevant. I've got my tasks, I've got things to deal with, I've got problems, I've got shit times ahead, we all have. But I just look at it, I need to learn from that, and I need to evolve. And that don't mean go into some goodness and light place where everything's all great. I need to evolve and incorporate all the knowledge that I've learned into my higher being and keep doing it. And I mean, helping each other out is fine, but I don't want to be locked into this amnesia circuit anymore. And I think we have the choice. So I'm choosing not to be another slave next time around. But anyway, personal choices. So, and yeah, just do what you think's right, and try not to judge, because you can't really be somebody else anyway. So let people get on with it and don't judge them. So anyway, good and evil really doesn't exist, but it's our look at things. So we label it, and somebody else will look at it completely differently. So anyway, that's this post for now. So I'll talk to you again soon.